No matter how long you've been a fan of Pokemon for, I bet my entire channel that you know how bad Meganium is. Game Freak unfortunately gave this majestic plant the short end of the stick when it comes to starter design, and I think it's about time Meganium got reworked to become the viable force of nature it always should have been. This video will explore the topic of redesigning Meganium in a vacuum for a modern-day remake of the Johto games, with new game mechanics all in place to keep Meganium's rework up to date. Before we dive into more complex changes, it's easiest to get Meganium's base stat total out of the way. Upon comparing the three Johto starters, Meganium has the lowest base stat total out of the starter trio, only sitting at 525. In comparison, however, Feraligatr and Typhlosion have a base total of 530 and 535 respectively. Our edits can start with a surprising decrease of 20 points in Meganium's attack stat in order to invest those points into more useful areas. For clarity, my design intention for Meganium is to become a support-oriented, defensive grass type, all while making it distinctly different from other grass pivots such as Amoonguss or Florges. 10 points will be reinvested into his HP to enhance its bulk, alongside an extra 5 points in both its defense and special defense to aid Meganium in its role as a pivot when needed. Lastly, for his stats, I'm throwing 10 points into his speed. An increase from 80 to 90 might not sound significant on the surface, but my justifications will be explained when we get into the in-game battles within a Johto playthrough. On to arguably the most important section of this video. It's time for us to thoroughly rework its typing in the competitive and gameplay realm. We need to first understand the reason behind Meganium's new design philosophy in the first place. Its Pokédex entries explain it as a tranquil, peace-healing Pokemon, as its petals release an aroma that calms aggressive feelings. Its breath also has the power to revive dead grass and plants, and Meganium is portrayed as a healing peacemaker in the anime and the films. Because of this, its aforementioned descriptions fit the idea of a fairy-esque creature, so I'm choosing to give the entire Meganium line a secondary type in Fairy. To put this idea to the test, this new version of Meganium will be placed in a potential modern-day remake of Johto to see how it compares against the major boss battles and events in the game. With the Fairy type, it can now deal with Bugsy's Heracross when rematched due to its new speed of 90. Falconer, the rest of Bugsy, and Morty are still unfortunately out of reach for the Meganium line as a whole, but Chuck can now be swiftly dealt with because of his fighting type specialty, especially when it comes to every single member on his rematch team. I mean, seriously guys, Chuck literally has no chance now. The 8th badge held by Claire can now also be handled with ease, as 3 of her 4 team members are walled completely by Meganium's new Fairy typing. Previously, Meganium was a near useless member to use in the Elite Four, with an advantage only against Will's Slowbro and Bruno's Onix, but its new design grants him access to be able to now deal with Will's Slowbro, Koga's rematched Toxicroak due to its new speed, the entirety of Bruno's team besides his rematched Lucario, Karen's Umbreon and rematched Absol, and Champion Lance's 3 absurd Dragonites, alongside his rematched Garchomp and Altaria because of his new base 90 speed again. Before we go over its Kanto League matchups, it's time for me to shamelessly plug myself. I've opened up a public community Discord for you to all interact in, talk about Pokemon, life, or literally anything that's on your mind. The link for this is in the description and on my channel page. And one last thing, I've opened up a Patreon for anyone who'd like to support my endeavors. Cause if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm just a broke college student. I literally just want to deliver the best content that I could for you guys. With 3 different tiers that all have their own exclusive perks and benefits, go check them out and see which one fits you best. Now back to the content. Thankfully, Meganium's new matchup against some of Kanto's most notorious leaders play out to be a major success, with it being able to completely wall Brock's regular and rematch team in Pewter City. Misty's entire team also gets wrecked hard, but it's important for trainers to be careful of her Lapras with the Ice type. Janine's rematched Toxicroak and Sabrina's rematched Gallade also now get checked, and Blue gets dealt with a serious disadvantage, as his Machamp, Rhydon, rematched Tyranitar, and Rhyperior all get swiftly swept by Meganium. Since we'll be covering the rival battles later on, I want to quickly pivot to the addition of its newly added moves, and I'm gonna warn you guys right now, I'd suggest you go grab some snacks. I'm adding a grand total of 26, yes 26 new moves to its move pool. As with most defensive grass types, a large part of their viability is determined by their move roster, and Meganium is no slouch when it comes to its new utilities. His offensive moves now include Mega Drain, Energy Ball, Absorb, Sappy Seed, Draining Kiss, Fairy Wind, Dazzling Gleam, Moonblast, Misty Explosion, Nature's Madness, and Round. These moves are not only staples for grass and fairy types, but also directly align with its aforementioned lore about a magical, aromatic, misty healing Pokemon. With its status moves, I've also added, here we go again, Sleep Powder, Magic Powder, Rage Powder, Aromatherapy, Grassy Terrain, Jungle Healing, Worry Seed, Fairy Lock, Strange Steam, Aromatic Mist, Floral Healing, Flower Shield, Sweet Kiss, Misty Terrain, Charm, and Recycle. Thanks for sticking with me. Rage Powder and Aromatherapy give Meganium the ability to fulfill a redirecting role in double battles, all while having longevity for itself and others on the field with its new moves in Sappy Seed and Floral Healing. And Dazzling Gleam and Misty Explosion also enhance its offensive capabilities in doubles as well. So far, we've covered its stats, typing, and move pool, so we're briefly going to circle back to the rival advantages before its abilities are overhauled. It's unfortunately disappointing to say that against Silver, Meganium still has zero advantages against his team unless it's able to tank a hit from Sneasel and fire back with a Stab Fairy move. Despite this, Silver isn't a hard rival in any means, so any other team member can take its role in a battle anyways. And like all good Pokemon, their abilities often define a large chunk of their usage role. Its default ability in Overgrow is just fine, as it fits the standard for all Grass-type starters. The opposite is unfortunately true for its hidden ability though, because while other starters got useful and force-defining abilities like Feraligatr with Sheer Force or Blaziken with Speed Boost, Meganium got stuck with a fitting but useless ability in Leaf Guard. Really, bro? Leaf Guard? If you don't know what this ability does, I can't even blame you. If Sunny Day is active, this Pokemon cannot be affected by a non-volatile status condition or yawn, and rest will fail for it. I don't think I need to explain why this ability is flat out useless in most cases, as base Meganium is the last Pokemon you want to use on a Sun team. So, I'm scrapping Leaf Guard as its hidden ability and replacing it with Misty Surge instead, which gives Meganium essential terrain control in battles, all while nullifying effects such as Spore and reducing Dragon-type damage by 50%. When it comes to design choices, there really isn't anything better that fits it too, due to itself being able to release Aromatic Mist around itself and others, another element of a Fairy type. As a whole, I believe that the tweaks done today for both aspects of gameplay allow Meganium to really stand out as a viable team member in a playthrough of Johto. Let me know what changes you guys would make in order to fix Johto's most beloved starter. Till next time,